Right now at 5, area school districts turn their eyes to the sky as severe weather season approaches.
And we've got active weather this morning, thunderstorms out there, and we could even see winter weather later today. We'll have a look at that forecast, get you out the door coming up.
Plus grant money headed
to
the
four states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Elise Snowy.
And I'm Chris Warner. It is now Tuesday. It's March the 4th, and a very March-like day. We've got showers, we got thunderstorms out there, and we have very gusty winds.
Yes.
We have, hold on, we have high wind warnings, we have wind advisories, we have winter weather advisories, and up to our north there are blizzard warnings. And down to our south, there are tornado watches.
That's like everything.
Everything, all within just a short drive, really. But this morning, the concern with the winds that are non-thunderstorm winds is they could be damaging on their own, especially across parts of southeast Kansas, where they could gust 60, 65 miles an hour. And that's not associated with thunderstorms. So a lot going on. Yes. And it's raining now across the area. We're going to start in downtown Pittsburgh with our camera there. And it is covered in water because, well, it's been raining so far this morning. We have been starting to see a bit of an uptick in lightning around the Pittsburgh area as well. For a while, these storms really were not producing much, but we've had a few strikes here recently. MoDOT camera 32nd and range line still looking pretty dry at this point. The rain hasn't quite made it into the Joplin area yet, but it will not take very long for it to get there. In fact, here's a look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker. So we're going to first zoom in around the Pittsburgh area. So you can see we've had about 4 lightning strikes just within the last about 10 minutes out there. So remember, even though there may not be any severe weather active at this time, the lightning is still dangerous. It is still deadly. So we've got those showers and storms there stretching back around the Jasper area. Lamar, you are just in between a couple of rounds and back through Liberal. We head up north to around the Nevada area. We've got additional showers that way and some heavier rain out there as well, also down towards Stockton. So again, Joplin hasn't made it quite in yet, but it's on its way. Same down Miami on Fairland and Veneta. We've got this line of storms out there as well. We're going to take a look back across parts of southeast Kansas. So here, I haven't seen any lightning strikes recently with this activity, but you can see some very heavy rainfall from Independence, Fredonia, back up toward Yates Center along 75, and that'll be eventually rolling into Iola, Chanute, and Erie. And it stretches all the way back up to Burlington. So again, in our immediate area, we have no severe weather alerts at all at this time. Last night, we did have some severe thunderstorm watches. We don't have anything in place right now. Had a lot of lightning with this activity, but it's kind of died down a little bit. But what we are watching is now what's across northeastern Oklahoma to see exactly how that interacts with everything and if it moves off to the northeast and if it can intensify. This line of storms, we could get a strong or low-grade severe storm out of it through the morning hours. It's this afternoon that we have slightly higher concern. And the good news is all of our risks are low, but unfortunately, as you see, all hazards are possible. We do have a slightly elevated wind risk in the far southern portion of our area, but we do have all hazards possible. And this is more so with what we're looking at this afternoon. We get this line through, and we'll have a little pause in some cases, and then we'll get these additional pop-up showers and storms out there, and those could pose their own severe risk as we head through the afternoon. And as we head later into the evening and overnight, we'll see this transition into the potential for some snow across the area, or at least a wintry mix. Temperatures this morning, doesn't seem like it's going to snow anytime soon. Upper 50s and low 60s out there, and eventually our highs just kind of hovering upper 50s, low 60s. A lot of those thunderstorms, and again, wind gusts outside of the storms, 40 to 60 miles an hour, and in some cases, maybe a little higher. So we're talking damaging winds not associated with thunderstorms. So you do need to keep that in mind. It may not be raining or storming where you are, but those wind gusts are going to be enough to be damaging as well. We're having another look at your forecast. We're going to break down all the advisories, all the alerts that are in place across the area, and that thunderstorm threat this afternoon here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, Chris, thanks. We're closing in on severe weather season, and that has local school districts planning for possible severe weather events. In the past couple of years, our area experienced tornado warnings near the end of the school day. In recent cases, class has still been in session, and students and staff have taken shelter on campus. District officials say they closely monitor severe weather events while school is in session.
We try to use every resource we have to try to anticipate not only track but also timing of the storms to anticipate, we want to keep our kids in place. Obviously, we don't want our kids out going into storms. We also don't want our families going out in the storms.
They say while the weather situation can change in an instant, they feel they're prepared for whatever Mother Nature sends their way. And tornado season is here, and Kansas and Missouri are observing Severe Weather Preparedness Week from now until March 7th. Emergency management teams will be promoting safety throughout the week with an emphasis on different weather disasters each day. Now on Wednesday, tornado sirens will sound across both states as part of a statewide drill, encouraging residents to practice their emergency plans. Officials urge everyone to stay prepared by knowing the signs of severe weather, having a safe shelter, and keeping emergency supplies ready. And don't forget, you can be the first to know about the day's weather with the KOAM Skywatch weather app. Get severe weather updates sent straight to your phone free of charge. It's available in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, the KOAM Skywatch weather app. Well, Pittsburg is moving forward with plans for a new multi-million-dollar water treatment plant. Now, the current city-owned facility is about 65 years old, and the city has been working on a design for a new facility for years. Now, recently, Pittsburg received about a $60 million loan to make the project a reality. The current plant will be completely decommissioned, and the new plant will increase capacity and bring the facility into compliance with their new permit. The plant director says the facility helps purify water to promote the health and safety of the community, including a large industrial manufacturer they supply water for. A local restaurant owner highlights the importance of reliable, safe water for her small business.
For cooking, we wash all our dishes. We need clean water for that. We have our soda machine that takes water. We have soup. Everything from start to finish is going to take water. You don't realize.
The project will take about 2 years, and the city hopes to begin construction in May. The grant program in Coffeyville hopes to revitalize the city's historic downtown. Now, 6 grants of up to $20,000 is available for local business and property owners. Applicants would be required to match any grant up to 25%. Now, the goal is to make improvements with a goal to preserve the downtown area's historic nature and make it more visually appealing. Now, city staff hope the improvements will revitalize the community.
We have a very I call it a working district, a business district in downtown, as well as some of our retail establishments and restaurants. And so we want those people that are living there, working there, stopping by to shop to feel at home, feel like a place they want to stay.
The spring round of applications is due March 15th, and there will also be a fall round opening in June. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Pitt State softball plays its 2025 home opener. We'll have the details. Plus, the Vatican says Pope Francis is now suffering from a new breathing crisis. And we're tracking thunderstorms throughout today. We'll have what to expect with Chris Warner in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Well, the Pittsburg State softball team has been full of road warriors this year. The Gorillas are 16 games into the 2025 season with an 11-5 record. Every single one of those contests have been played away from home. Now, yesterday, that changes. Pittsburg State softball hosts Southwest Baptist for its home opener. Now it's game 1 of a doubleheader. Game tied at 1 in the bottom of the first. Kylie Lamont crushes the pitch to straightaway center. That is long gone for a 3-run home run. Just like that, Gorillas take a 4-1 lead. Next inning, same score. Heather Arnett laces one to deep right, and that gets into the bleachers. Her first home run of the season. The Gorillas get it done in the field as well. Next inning, runner on Arnett gets the batter out at first. Then Trisha Peterson quickly throws to third, and that's a double play. Bottom 3, Kadam Trochim tees off on this pitch, and that's the third Gorilla home run of the afternoon. Pitt State takes care of Southwest Baptist 10-2 in the first game of the doubleheader. The Gorillas win in game 2 as well. Final score 9-3 in that one. Sophia Driver hits a home run and Courtney Story collects 3 RBI off 2 hits. Now in Missouri high school basketball, classes 1 through 3 are already through district tournament play. And last night we had sectional playoff games. And we'll start in Class 3 with a battle between a couple of our local schools. Lamar takes down New Heights 70-60, and the Tigers will advance to the Class 3 state quarterfinals where they will face Thayer on Friday night. Now, if the Tigers win that contest, they move on to the Final Four at the University of Missouri's campus in Columbia. Then in Class 1, McCully Catholic boys basketball is moving on to the state quarterfinals as well. The Warriors take down Drexel 40-32 at home. Now they'll face Wheatland, who has lost just 3 games all season. Now in that quarterfinal playoff game on Friday night, hoping to punch a ticket to the Final Four. And Missouri Southern Athletics announced yesterday that the Lions have found their next volleyball head coach, who is very familiar with the area. Kelly Richardson is the new leader of the Southern volleyball program. Now, in a press release from MSSU Athletics, she says, quote, "From the moment I stepped on campus, it felt like home, and it was obvious why Southern is such a special place." Richardson has more than 11 years of collegiate coaching experience, including being head coach at Western Illinois and Southwest Baptist. Now, most recently, she has served as director of 417 juniors volleyball, the largest elite club in Southwest Missouri. Well, still to come, a study reveals that opioids during surgery may cause worse pain for patients. Plus, a check of the 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5:17 now on this Tuesday morning. Very active morning for us. Now, again, no severe weather in our immediate area here, but we do have showers, and we are starting to see an uptick in thunderstorm activity just slightly. So around Columbus, back toward Oswego, Chatopa, just some light showers there, a few rumbles of thunder. It stretches up, rolling through Lamar and Sheldon right now, as well as Nevada, and we get some rain just exiting the Pittsburg area. Joplin, Carthage still not in on the rain yet. Jasper, it is right on your back door. Same down into Miami. Starting to roll into Veneta now. What we're going to be watching is this activity. It's south of Nevada around Chelsea, Oologah, Claremore, Owasso. These thunderstorms are what we're going to watch as they begin to lift off to the northeast, east-northeast really, over the next few hours, and we'll see if they can intensify. They're trying to, but the environment right now in our immediate area just is not all that conducive to strong thunderstorm development. And all this here in southeast Kansas, Independence, Fredonia, Chinook, just outside of Erie, Parsons, going into Yates Center, Iola, Burlington. So you see, there's no lightning associated with this activity. This is just very heavy rainfall that is falling out there. Now, on top of that, we have the winds that we have to worry about, which we're going to talk about that as well. So we have this activity. Again, late last night, we did have a severe thunderstorm watch that reached the far western edges of our area. That is gone. We have no watches. We have no warnings in our immediate area, but we'll continue to monitor this activity as it tries to redevelop out there. And then we've got another round we have to watch very closely as we head into the afternoon hours as well. That's why we still do have the low risk across the board for the tornado risk, the hail risk. Now on wind, it is low to elevated in the far southern fringes of our area for damaging wind gusts. I also want to mention, though, we're talking wind gusts that are not related to thunderstorms that could be damaging on their own, especially across parts of southeastern Kansas and northeastern Oklahoma. Now, again, this morning, we're not really looking at anything too wild yet, but as we head into the afternoon, we're expecting new development to take place. So here's that line rolling out of here by noon, and then we'll get scattered showers and thunderstorms that will begin to develop pretty quickly behind that, and those could produce strong to severe thunderstorms on their own. And at this point, in all honesty, it's these afternoon storms that have the greater potential to strengthen and become strong to severe. But this morning, we still have that potential, and we are still watching it very closely. Now, as we go late evening, temperatures begin to drop. The low pressure moves out. We see those thunderstorms start to kind of transition to rain, and back behind it starts to transition into snow and a wintry mix out there. And then you talk about these northwest winds gusting 50 miles an hour or more overnight. We're going to have the concerns for blowing snow out there, which could lead to reduced visibilities. Now, at this point, maybe our far northern counties could get an inch or two on grassy surfaces. We're not really worried about accumulations out of any of this, but it could still lead to slick spots, especially as we head into Wednesday. It's still going to be very windy for the good portion of Wednesday and very cold compared to where we have been as this system rolls on through. But skies will eventually begin to clear. Wind advisories in this tan color. We talked about this yesterday. These are now high wind warnings. And so that's, again, the concern from out west here is damaging wind gusts. Again, not associated with any thunderstorm activity of 60, maybe even as great as 70 miles an hour. And that's just, again, not associated with storms, just the winds. And then on top of that, we have these winter weather advisories for the northwestern portions of our area. These run through 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. So we got a lot of action going on out there. Our temperatures this morning, again, not too bad. We're sitting into the upper 50s, low 60s. And in all honesty, they're not going to move that much as we go through the day. We'll have the thunderstorms, we'll have the winds. And again, you see just kind of hovering right around the mid 50s out there. Eventually, we should make upper 50s, some low 60s for highs. Much colder tomorrow. Again, those winds anywhere from 40 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts between today, tonight, and into tomorrow. They'll ease up, and we get that brief cool down before we start to warm up as we head into the weekend and next week. Let's check your forecast. We'll be back with Health Watch right after this.
Well, topping Health Watch this morning, a study reveals patients may experience significantly worse pain if given opioids during surgery. Researchers say the use of powerful synthetic opioids during surgery led to 27 times greater pain in post-op patients. A clinical trial out of France analyzed data gathered from over 900 patients under age 70 to evaluate the effectiveness of sedatives given prior to surgery. Now, participants were either given a sedative, a placebo, or nothing at all. Now, all of those patients who's receiving the opioid reported experiencing the worst pain. Researchers say the severe pain can hinder a patient's recovery and increase the risk of complications. The study is published in the journal Regional Anesthesia and Pain Medicine. Americans will be jumping their clocks an hour ahead this coming weekend, and that means you will be losing an hour of your precious sleep. The American Heart Association says the time change and loss of sleep could have harmful effects to some, including elevated risk of heart attacks and stroke, as well as cognitive decline and obesity. Researchers suggest shifting bedtimes 15 or 20 minutes earlier several nights before the time change and to wake up earlier the next morning in preparation for daylight saving time. They also say going outside for early morning sunshine the first week of the time can help your body adjust. And Texas is experiencing its largest measles outbreak in 30 years. Roughly 150 cases have been reported so far, and health officials worry that number will grow. Jen Sullivan is tracking the latest data.
As the measles outbreak worsens in Texas, there's growing concerns over public safety.
We are seeing a worrying, expanding outbreak of measles.
In western Texas, at least 146 cases of measles have been reported this year. But Dr. Jennifer Shuford says those numbers could be much higher.
This is actually larger than our confirmed count case, and it continues to grow.
The latest update from state health officials comes just days after the outbreak's first death, a school-aged child who was not vaccinated and had been hospitalized in Lubbock. Measles is a highly contagious disease that can cause a rash of red spots, fever, cough, and red watery eyes. Health officials say the best protection is to get the MMR vaccine, which protects against measles, mumps, and rubella.
It's really only the unvaccinated that are at risk.
The first dose of the vaccine is typically given to children ages 12 to 15 months and is 93% effective. The second dose, given to kids between 4 and 6 years old, is about 97% effective, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Health officials warn that infants who are not yet eligible for the vaccine are at a high risk during an outbreak.
We know they can have really serious outcomes. And so it is something that we're concerned about, that we're following closely and trying to intervene on.
While the majority of cases are emerging in Texas, at least 8 other states have reported a total of 18 measles cases this year, according to the CDC. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Last year, a total of 285 cases were reported in the U.S., according to the CDC. And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And we are continuing to track showers and thunderstorms rolling through the area this morning. We'll have another look at that forecast when we come back.
Right now at 5:30, some aspiring green thumbs in Joplin dig in at a local coffee shop for some gardening tips.
Showers and thunderstorms rolling through the area this morning. Another round later today and very gusty winds. We'll have a look at that forecast. Get you out the door coming up.
Plus, the Pittsburg Child Care Center is bringing Dr. Seuss to life with a week of fun-filled activities.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Elise Snowy.
I'm Chris Warner. It is now Tuesday, March the 4th, and it is a wet and windy day out there.
It really is, yes.
It's a little, with the winds, feels a little cooler.
Yes.
We are seeing some thunderstorm activity out there. Thankfully, so far in our neck of the woods, no severe weather.
Right.
We had some stronger storms earlier. Those have kind of died out, but we're now seeing storms recycle and redevelop. And so we'll keep an eye on those for you. And we're going to take a look. Yeah. Let's dive right in. Look outside first. Downtown Pittsburgh. You can see our camera is covered in water because it has been raining in Pittsburgh for a while. MoDOT camera, 32nd in range line. Still fairly dry at this point as the rain hasn't quite made it to Joplin, but it is almost there. Here's a look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker. So this is what I'm talking about with the thunderstorm activity kind of re-intensifying. See all these lightning strikes right here just to the east of Drywood, so southeast of Nevada. So we'll do it. It's not many, but in just a few minutes' time, that's already 6 strikes that have taken place there. So that's why we're watching it as this all could begin to re-intensify for us. All of this out here, stretching from Yates Center back toward Burlington, Garnett, Iola, Chanute, Fredonia, Independence, Coffeyville, getting ready to knock on the door of Erie, Parsons. This is just heavy rain. You can see there's no lightning with this activity, but very heavy rainfall. This is the activity we're keeping an eye on. Again, down in parts of northeastern Oklahoma. So from Skiatook to Claremore, back toward Tulsa, south of Newada, Veneta, near Adair. These thunderstorms are trying to get themselves together and kind of reorganize a bit. Again, it's of course we have our severe weather situation, so I'm just checking on some new information, thankfully not impacting us, so that's some good news at this point. But we're going to watch these storms because this whole line was initially moving off to the east, and now it's starting to turn more northeasterly, and you can actually watch it here. You watch this batch, see how it's moving east, and now it's starting to turn northeast. So again, nothing severe, nothing even strong at this point in our area. Now down a little further south, that's what I was just checking. They said that we're expanding this tornado watch, but it's not impacting our area yet. And you can see an active tornado warning down east or southeast of Oklahoma City. That's why we want to watch all of this. It's all beginning to develop. It's really getting its act together. You see how quickly this activity came together, lifting off to the northeast. So that's why we're going to watch this, and that's why, at least at this point, we do have a low risk for every category: tornado, hail, and the wind. We do have an elevated risk in our far southern counties, so we've got to keep a close eye on this activity. Now, the expectation is we're going to get this line of storms through here. Some of us might get a brief pause in activity before we see additional storms develop, and these storms will also pose a risk of being strong to severe as we head into the afternoon before we go late tonight, and this begins to transition into snow across the area, which we'll go over all of that with you in a moment. Temperatures this morning, upper 50s, low 60s, very windy. We're talking wind gusts today on average anywhere from 40 to 60 miles an hour. So outside of the thunderstorms, we could get damaging wind gusts, especially in parts of southeast Kansas that could be 60 miles an hour or greater. And that wouldn't even be a storm wind gust. That's just the wind. So we've got to pay close attention to all of that today. Temperatures will just hover upper 50s, low 60s, and we'll have those scattered storms out there we're keeping an eye on. Again, no active watches or warnings in our area. We are very closely monitoring this situation. We have a number of other advisories and situations going on. We're going to talk about all of that, talk about the snow and how long the cold air sticks around here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, Chris, thanks. With the arrival of severe weather season, there's always a risk of damage to your home. And that risk can also bring the danger of scams involving free roof inspections. While legitimate businesses use this to reach new customers, scammers can also take advantage of it. If a dishonest company or person shows up, they'll usually say they're working on a neighbor's home or they noticed your damaged roof. If you accept their offer, they may fabricate damage or show you photos of someone else's roof to get your business.
You need to be really careful with those unsolicited calls. Someone might call you and tell you, make it almost sound like a guarantee that if there's a problem, your insurance will cover it. But you always want to confirm with your insurance company if you think you have damage, what they will do and what steps you need to do to make sure that you are covered.
Regional BBB also says to be wary of offers, especially after a big storm. Also, do your homework before hiring any company. That also means shop around. Well, spring is almost here and many aspiring gardeners are taking the opportunity to learn the basics of growing their own fresh produce. A free beginner gardening class took place at Joplin Greenhouse last night, offering valuable tips for both first-time gardeners and those looking for a refresher. Participants learned everything from choosing the right location and improving soil health to planting, caring for crops, and harvesting.
My favorite thing about gardening is the reward of gardening. I really enjoy harvesting things, and it's really good family time. Some of my favorite things to plant in the garden would be tomatoes, of course, green beans, and asparagus. Those would be probably my top three.
Sorry I missed you earlier.
That's all right.
I forgot that I told people they could come over.
Experts were on hand to answer questions and provide practical tips to help people build a successful garden. And the Sunshine Child Care Center in Pittsburgh kicked off a week inspired by Dr. Seuss yesterday. The Learning Center says it's planned a week filled with activities taken from some of the author's popular books. The center started the event with a nod to the book One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish by encouraging everyone to wear red and blue.
It's just kind of about getting them engaged with the reading. So the children love when others come out and read to them, and so sometimes they'll sit on their laps or they sit next to them or they'll sit across from them, and that just kind of helps promote them to read along with them.
Well, the PSU football team got in on the Dr. Seuss tribute by reading to the kids at the center yesterday. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. President Trump's new 25% tariffs on major U.S. trade partners kicked in today. Plus, European leaders try to carve out their own path toward a ceasefire deal with Ukraine. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Well, topping World Watch, Pope Francis has had another health setback. The Vatican says the Holy Father suffered 2 new acute respiratory crises on Monday and was put back on non-invasive mechanical ventilation. The pontiff has been hospitalized for more than 2 weeks for treatment of double pneumonia. Doctors used a camera-tipped tube which was sent down into the Pope's airways with a sucker at the tip to suction out fluid. Now, the Vatican says Francis has remained alert and oriented and has cooperated with medical personnel. The Pope's prognosis remains, quote, guarded. President Donald Trump's tariffs on major U.S. trade partners are now in effect. President Trump's new 25% tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada kicked in just past midnight. Now, the president is calling on the bordering countries to step up efforts to crack down on fentanyl trafficking and illegal immigration into the U.S. The Trump administration says the tariffs will also help boost America's manufacturing industry. A new 10% tariff on Chinese imports also took effect today, doubling the rate to 20%. Now, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he will retaliate with 25% tariffs on U.S. products China says it plans to retaliate by imposing as much as 15% tariffs on various imports from the U.S. Well, the White House is ramping up the pressure on Ukraine to reach a ceasefire deal. Kevin Cork explains.
A senior White House official to the U.S. will pause all military aid to Ukraine until the Ukrainians show a stronger commitment to working out a peace deal. This as European leaders try to carve out their own path toward a ceasefire, with Britain and France leading the charge. The UK's Prime Minister says he's open to sending troops to Ukraine to help keep the peace.
Britain will play a leading role, with, if necessary, and together with others, boots on the ground and planes in the air.
Both countries acknowledge the U.S. would likely still be needed as a part of a peacekeeping effort to ensure that a truce holds. That would, however, require a reset of U.S.-Ukraine relations after Friday's disastrous Oval Office meeting. The White House says it expects an apology from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who has tried to keep open the door to repairing the relationship.
He's in a very difficult position. The war is not going well for Ukraine.
This weekend, Zelensky said he thinks a peace deal is still a long way away. That comment not sitting well with President Trump.
He better not be right about that. And if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long.
Amid the uncertainty, European leaders are looking to ramp up their own defense spending. In fact, the EU is set to hold an emergency summit on that very topic this coming Thursday.
And that's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 5:45 on this Tuesday morning. We have a very active start to the day. Now, again, no severe weather active in our immediate area, but we are very closely monitoring some storms across northeastern Oklahoma. So let's take a look. First off, take a look at this guy. Now he's east of Nevada, just outside of El Dorado Springs. Again, for that, that's obviously not a lot of lightning strikes, but in that one zone and in such a short order, it's still, another 6 of them out there. This storm has tried to intensify. It shouldn't do much, but there's still quite a bit of lightning with that, so you do want to make sure you are being safe out there this morning. Outside of that, we got some heavier rain now around the Nashville area, to the west of Jasper, just outside of Pittsburg. Still rain, not quite making it into the Joplin area, kind of dying out there, but what we're watching is this activity. So we have showers and heavier rain moving into Miami. It's all of this activity. If you've been with us through this morning, you'll note, excuse me, that this activity is ramped up in coverage as we've been watching it through the morning. Again, it's not strong, it's not severe, but we are continuing to monitor it because storms on down to the south of this activity are continuing to intensify. Again, now thankfully for us, we're not dealing with this at this point. There's that tornado watch that runs I-40 from Fort Smith back towards Seminole, and there's that tornado warning that's now northwest of McAllister. But for us, again, no warnings, nothing like that, but this activity here in northeast Oklahoma definitely bears watching. And then up in southeast Kansas, you guys have been fairly lucky after a potential for severe weather. This is really ramped down a bit, but you are still looking at some very heavy rainfall. Independence, Fredonia, Sedan, eventually rolling to Chanute, just exiting Yates Center, getting into Iola and around the Parsons area as well. All right, now we've kind of cleared what was going on there. Let's take a look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker loop. So here's the other reason we're watching the activity in northeast Oklahoma. Watch this loop very closely. You'll notice that this whole line initially moving east, and then in the last hour or so, see this activity along the turnpike starting to lift off to the northeast. It's beginning to turn. So that's why we want to keep a close eye on all of that activity because eventually this will continue to try and lift to the north and east. And you can see the severe weather's been ramping up south of I-40. So again, something we're going to monitor. The other thing we have to monitor very closely is going to be this afternoon. That's why, again, we still at this point have a low risk across the board. We have a low tornado threat as well as hail, and then we do have an elevated wind risk in our far southern counties because we could see additional showers and storms this afternoon, which could also be strong to severe. And I'll be honest, at this point, looking at some of the information so far, the storms this afternoon, so after about 2 o'clock, are going to pose they're going to have the greater chance of becoming strong too severe compared to what we're experiencing this morning. That's not to say this morning we're out of the woods by any means. We've got to watch it closely, but we'll have that next round. Now, once that rolls through, it starts to turn into rain, and eventually it turns into snow. We're talking light snow, light wintry mix. Our far northwestern counties could get an inch or two on grassy surfaces, but this is going to turn into snow. The other concern with it is going to be blowing snow overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning. I say that because, well, we're looking at wind gusts between today, tonight, and tomorrow, anywhere from 40 to 60 miles an hour. And that's not associated with the storms. That's just the winds gusting. That's why we have high wind warnings in the southeast Kansas and wind advisories across the rest of the area, because these winds are going to be very gusty. And as I mentioned, that snow chance, with all the severe weather chance today, we also have these winter weather advisories through 3 o'clock this morning into parts of southeastern Kansas. So again, getting our day started, hovering just into the mid-50s for most of us. Scattered storms, very gusty winds. Eventually, highs, again, hovering upper 50s, low 60s. Temperatures will drop this evening to about 30. Cold, breezy tomorrow. Winds tomorrow, again, gusting 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. They'll ease up later in the day. We'll get some clearing going on. And then we'll start to warm back up once we get past tomorrow to temperatures that are a little more spring-like. Let's check your forecast. We're back with more after this.
Well, a teenage climber is lucky to be okay after falling some 3 stories down a rocky California crevice and getting pinned between boulders. Jeremy Roth has today's Take a Look at This.
Aerial video of a very tense rescue in a very tight space shows the moment a crew pulled a teen to safety after he was pinned in a rocky crevice for hours. San Bernardino County Fire says the 15-year-old slipped and fell while climbing with his family on large boulders in Southern California's Rimrock area. The boy had reportedly fallen some 30 feet down a crevice and was wedged between boulders, knees against his chest, unable to move and struggling to breathe. With the help of aerial night vision and a drone spotlight, crews worked using a rope rescue system to reach the teen and pull him to safety. He was dehydrated and oxygen-starved, but has since reportedly recovered. Another stuck in a rut situation, this one involving a car someone left in a hole in a frozen Minnesota lake for nearly a month. What an ice hole! No, really, the icy hole. It's very impressive. After the car's owner was identified, officials gave them a full month to retrieve it, but there the carsicle stayed. And with the deadline looming, the owner was set to face buku fines if the county had to handle it. But instead, some volunteer do-gooders solved the soggy saga, offering to remove the icy eyesore at no cost. Finally, a Rhode Island community has been stuck dealing with a a foghorn that goes off every 30 seconds. That's gotta be annoying.
It's annoying, extremely annoying.
Well, there you have it. Narragansett residents say they've been dealing with the nagging nonstop noisemaker for several weeks, and relief is nowhere in sight. Sound. The Coast Guard says the horn is a few hundred yards off the beach, and structural issues with the device are complicating a timely fix. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
We'll be right back. Well, the M&M store invites you to the world's sweetest sleepover in Times Square. The brand is launching its first ever rewards program dubbed the M&M's Fun Club. And to celebrate, M&M's is offering a sleepover at its iconic store in New York City. One lucky winner will be able to bring along 4 friends to enjoy treats and candy, as well as have an after-hours shopping spree. Now, those interested have until March 19th to enter the sweepstakes for a chance to win. And it's time to celebrate the music genre we all know, from the training field to the football stadium. Today is National Marching Band Day. The day is set aside to honor the genre's musicians and composers, as well as its performers. The regular and powerful rhythm of the music keeps marching bands from military to high school and college and others in unison and on the move. Now, bands are, of course, staples at football games and parades. Now, to celebrate the day, you can support a local marching music group.
And we've got showers and thunderstorms that are going to persist with us through the day before it eventually turns into some wintry weather. Temperatures hovering around the mid-50s. Winds today are the other concern, gusting anywhere from 40 to 60 miles an hour. So we're talking damaging wind gusts that won't be associated necessarily with thunderstorm activity, especially across parts of southeast Kansas. Again, highs about 60, and the temperatures aren't going to move much through the day. Showers, thunderstorms, we'll see another round this afternoon. That'll turn into rain later, and as temperatures temperatures drop, that'll eventually turn into a bit of a wintry mix, maybe even some light snow. We're not anticipating any major accumulations, but with these winds tonight gusting 50 to 65 miles an hour, it could lead to reduced visibilities with blowing snow, falling back to about 30 out there. And then tomorrow, still very windy. Winds will eventually die down late in the day tomorrow, and skies will start to clear out. We are much colder, below average, low 40s. 30 again tomorrow night, and we'll start warming up as we head into Thursday and the upcoming weekend. Of course, we're continuing to monitor showers and thunderstorms across the area, and if we get any watches or warnings, we'll let you know. We'll be back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.